We'll call the meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Goodall,
Here.
Commissioner Corbin, Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you, the agenda, but since there is no personnel issues on that for number 5, we can adopt the agenda as amended without number 5 personnel.
And then can we also move the item number 3 in new business to number 1? As well.
We can do that. You can move the other
I'll
one.
make the motion.
Make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second as amended. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no appearances or acknowledgements, is there anything else anyone wants to discuss on the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On unfinished business, approve the 2026 City of Madison Strategic Plan. Jameson, you want to address that?
I'll give a quick overview and I'll ask Eric and Jessica to pull up the second chair and come up to the podium so we can see it.
Yeah.
So we are at the end of our strategic planning process for the 2026 strategic plan. As we've discussed in the past, the city of Madison has engaged with PASC, a rural economic development firm out of South Dakota, Burke, South Dakota, who has been assisting us and leading the way for us. So the document that was posted onto our website this afternoon and shared with the commission via email is a comprehensive look at where our community is at, what our people think and where they want us to go. I think with that, I will turn it over to PASC from Burke, not from PASC.
I would like to visit Pask, South Dakota, but.
Yeah.
All right. Good evening. Good to be with you all this evening. For those tuning in online, my name is Eric Mucky. I'm the founder and one of the 4 managing partners of Pask.
I'm Jessica Myers. I'm one of the managing partners.
And we are very excited to present to you your final strategic plan. I know when I last spoke, I went through line by line our strategies. That's not going to happen tonight. So let's just chat through the summary of what's happened since. So thanks to all of you. I know I want to give special acknowledgement to Jameson. Jameson went through line by line of every strategy that we presented and gave us feedback. I appreciate that. I know each of you gave very specific feedback or bearing feedback based on what you saw as well. Based on what was presented last time, we had 6 principles of development that we looked at. We're down to 5. We were able to whittle down a little bit and streamline. The final document that'll be in front of you is about 72 pages cover to cover. That includes specifically the second page of the document, a vision statement. So the vision statement that was drawn together by the steering committee members using the feedback created by the community, both through survey, interviews and stakeholder group discussions, and then kind of an outline of the plan itself. So looking through the contents as a whole, like I said, I won't go into too much detail tonight, but what you're getting out of this final report is really kind of a clear overview of Madison as a community, the geography, the people, shifting patterns in terms of Madison as a regional hub. So looking at commuting patterns specifically, and then also looking at shifting demographics. So how is the community changing? How is it growing? How is it shifting? And then from there, outlining the planning process, which included as contracted an economic base analysis. So looking at industry sectors and changes since 2000, trade and local clusters. So there's a review of that in the appendix of the document. You can see all of the locally traded clusters. So economic clusters or industries that are sharing economic activity outside of the 4 walls, if you will, of Madison. And then those that are purely local or serving local. Beyond that, we performed a community peer review. So an outline of what that process looks like, some key factors and indicators that may be of interest to the commission, to steering committee members, specifically the communities that we reviewed. Winter, South Dakota, Vermillion, South Dakota, Spearfish, South Dakota, Mitchell, South Dakota, and then Sioux Center, Iowa, and Marshall, Minnesota. So giving you some kind of benchmark data to look at. There's a visual in there in particular that really highlights some key indicators that we felt were important based on the 5 factors we used to bring those peer communities together. And then for about 5 pages worth of space, you'll be able to see kind of the trends and highlights that came up from the survey feedback, the interviews conducted in the community, and the discussion groups that were held in the community. So especially for the commissioners, I know we talked about that the last time I was here. That was a big subject of the community sessions we held as well, just kind of giving an outline of this is what the community said, this is what their perspective is, these are their hopes, these are the challenges they communicate, and here's some ways that we can address that. The rest of the plan highlights the vision that was shared by residents of the city of Madison, and then 5 principles for development. Those 5, as we kind of went through last time, been kind of whittled down to prioritizing community engagement, strengthening collaboration among institutions in the community, addressing critical needs, enhancing quality of life, and investing in city workforce. So in the document, you'll see very much the same strategies and outcomes that we talked about the last time I came out. And again, through that entire process, you'll be able to see what the strategies and goals are for each of those areas of development that were shared as priorities by the community, specific actions you can take over the next 3 years, what kind of anticipated outcomes you might see from those strategies, but then most importantly, who's going to actually own the process. Ultimately, there's a lot of work here for the city to consider. There's also a fair amount of work in partnership for the steering committee partners who are involved to consider as well. And so what that looks like going from here as far as next steps, that's outlined in the document itself. We would like to transition the governance of this plan to essentially the same steering committee members, but calling it by a different name. Instead of a steering committee, calling it a governance committee, where you have representatives from the city itself, of course, knowing that this is a city strategic plan, along with LAIC, the chamber, DSU, Madison School District, Madison Regional Health System, and then as directed in the plan itself, including representation from Lake County, and then a proposed new downtown subsidiary of the chamber. So with that being said, I know that there's a lot of good information here to act on. It's also a very ambitious plan to move on. But I know in just talking with this group, talking with the community, talking with the partners that were at the table, putting this together, I'm very confident that you'll find this plan both actionable and achievable. I think there's a lot here that can be accomplished. As with any plan, there's always going to be the next steps of how do we get this thing done. And I think there's a lot of really powerful steps that even one step of the many that are in here will have a really positive impact in the community. So happy to answer any questions and bring my time here to a close. I just really appreciate the chance to do this work with all of you. I know there's a lot of hours of work that were put into this, not just by our staff, but also again by Jameson, the steering committee members that were involved, and probably most importantly, the residents of Madison who shared their time. So with that, I'll yield and stay by for questions.
And I was part of the steering committee, so I pretty much had my questions answered, so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good product that we're walking away with or we'll continue with.
I think it provides us good directional focus in the next few years, and I think it's something that our community can be involved in through that process, and I think that's what's probably most important. I guess I appreciate all the work that went into it.
And there were a lot of people involved in the city and that, answering questions there, besides the questionnaire that was on electronically and the groups that they were able to visit with on, and then so, yeah, there was a lot went into this, no question. Jameson?
Yep, I want to extend thanks to both of you and to your other managing partners as well. I'm very happy with the product, very excited to start implementing it and to move to the next step there. I think what's most exciting about doing a strategic plan is it moves us from thinking to knowing. Quite often we think we know what our residents want to do. We think we know what the best thing is for the community, what the next step is. And with the work that PASC has led us through here, Now we know, we have strong knowledge over what our strengths are, what our opportunities are, and the next steps, the actionable but achievable steps that Eric mentioned that we can move forward with.
Very good.
Yeah, I would just echo too, you know, I think one of the things that I always thought we were a little weak on is collaboration with other entities, and this is definitely outlined that, and I think moving forward, we need to do a better job, and this will give us a path to do that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
How many participants did we end up reaching?
Good question. I know we talked about that the last time. So in terms of community survey, we finished with 629 respondents in total across that. Interviews and discussion groups, we had probably a little over 800 people that were involved in the process. So as you see in the report, or you'll see in the report as you're reading, we got about 13% of the population approximately. And again, there are some I guess factors within that. We did have a few folks who responded to the survey that were living at the lakes, or they're living in Lake County, but not in any of the locations listed. So we had some participation from the broader county as well. So in total, like I said, a little over 800 people.
And from a data collection standpoint, if you, the magic number is 10%. If you can get 10% response rate, you're golden. So to be closer to 13 is absolutely incredible. And it's a testament, not to us, it's a testament to the people of the area and how much they care about Madison and how much they want the best for this community. There's so many people polling for Madison and for Lake County. So you all should be really proud of the community members that participated in this. It was crucial. We're just giving you back the information that they gave us.
Good, thank you.
One last point, if I may, one thing to keep in mind as well for the commission, we did hold back a specific number of hours for technical assistance for some of the immediate implementation of the plan, so just know too. Tonight's not probably the last time that you'll see us. Of course, it'll be mostly working with Jameson at this point, but just want to at least reiterate, we're definitely interested in how you can take the feedback that your residents gave you and say, how do we make it successful? So we're here to be a supportive partner as you need us to be. So we appreciate the chance to do this with you.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, with that, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2, approve the second reading of ordinance 1658, amending the snow removal ordinances. Jameson, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The second reading is unchanged from the first reading. This ordinance updates and clarifies some regulations within our snow removal ordinance. We feel that the best time to do so isn't when snow is falling, but after we've had a chance to evaluate and look for any changes. It cleans up some existing rules, regulations, clarifies the time that residents need to remove snow from the sidewalks, as well as setting regulations on emergency snow routes and parking during snow emergencies. And it also allows us the ability to set fines, to fine violations as necessary.
Questions or comments? Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the second reading, ordinance number 1658, amend snow removal ordinances.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with Lake County. Jameson, would you like to address that?
Yes, sir. So we do have Shelley with us from the county. Thank you for attending, Shelley. I think it's fair to say that everybody is very familiar with the bypass and the discussions that have been going on for several years now about what opportunities we would need to realize for improvement of the bypass. The bypass is a 2-mile stretch stretching from Pizza Ranch south and then east to Prostralos. The city and the county have been collaborating on an opportunity with federal funding to apply for congressionally directed spending, CDS. This would be up to $7 million, what the application was for, and we do not know what the answer will be or the result of that application until sometime this fall or early winter. However, we are moving forward with collaborating on pre-design engineering and environmental studies. So within this MOU, it outlines the understanding that If the city, excuse me, if the county receives the funding from the federal government, we will collaborate with them to improve the 2 mile stretch of road. Largely, this is gonna be surface improvements, but there might be some opportunities for lane changes or other changes to the section of the road. And then, once the street is completed, then the ownership of the road and responsibility would be transferred over to the city. And the second part of that would be the 1/2 mile of Northeast Third Street, that's south and along the edge of the airport. There was a time when the county was maintaining that road. It was transferred over in the early 1980s. The city took, a section within the city, and the county took everything from there. And over the last, I guess, recent time, we realized that that 1/2 mile is under the city's purview. So under this MOU, the understanding would be that the city would do a mill and overlay on that 1/2 mile stretch of road to improve it to match the condition of the road further east of there. And then if that gets done, the bypass gets done, there'd be an exchange of those two pieces of property. So the county would assume ownership of that 1/2 mile stretch by the airport, and the city would assume ownership of the bypass. Shelley, that cover everything?
Yes, it does.
Okay, I'll stand by for any questions.
Any questions at all? We've all had the opportunity in that to read the memorandum of agreement. And should anything fall through on the funding in that, then this year would be back to square one again. But if the funding comes through in that, then we as a city would follow through and help with the improvements of the bypass. And then we would also make the improvements in that on that 1/2 mile. And then at the end of that, then we will swap properties. So right now, until we have an answer on the grant, we don't have any more information other than the county has approved the MOU this morning. And if the commission decides to approve it tonight, then we will have it signed and the memorandum of understanding will be on its way. Any questions or comments?
Do we have any indications on our chances of the grant or?
You looking for percent?
Yeah, I mean,
No. I wish I could do that. I don't know, Shelley, if you'd be confident doing that, but we don't know. So-
All I know is that there are more requests than there is money available to allocate.
sure.
Which wasn't the case, that's only the 3rd year that CDS spending has been in effect. Before that, it was on big pause. And it was called earmarks before that. So the first year it came back,
Shelley,
there was more,
would you mind coming closer to the
sorry.
owl here for
The
the
first
public at
year,
home?
the first year it came back, there was enough money to meet most of the requests. This year is not the case. I attended a webinar through the National Association of Counties, and they estimate there's about twice as many requests as money available. But we're in a good spot because Senator Thun's office is sponsoring it and has recommended it, and so
Nice.
we are optimistic.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And this is one of the things in that we won't know until probably mid to late July.
Well, we won't know until the federal government approves their budget, so
Got
if you can predict when that occurs,
Yeah,
that's when we'll know.
yeah. I knew there was a catch. Okay. But at this point in time, it's a memorandum of understanding between the county and the city, and funding comes forward in that, then we can continue to move forward, so.
So then, if that funding comes through, we continue to have conversations with the county, I mean, maybe even a joint meeting at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we've broken out that MOU into 3 phases essentially, so. I mean, right now, the phase we're focused on is the pre-construction phase, and then if the funding comes through, then we'll have to get back to the table and pencil out what phase 2 looks like, and.
It would just be nice to be able to collaborate together as we go through this, if it happens.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. And we've been having meetings with the engineers, both city and county representatives, so.
And Banner, who works with the city, is also who is working with this project. So, you have engineering firm and that is familiar with both. So that makes it, a smoother, moving forward as well.
We have preliminary timelines, or is it all dependent on approvals?
Well, there's 3 years to expend the funds if they're awarded, so. And then that would be, I don't know if that's what you're looking for,
What's the date out there?
Other questions? Okay. If no questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, to authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding with Lake County.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Shelley.
Thanks, Shelley.
but thanks for moving me up.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good night.
Number one, award bid number 925, City Administration Building to Journey Group. Jameson, would you like to address that?
Yes. So the city has been, I want to say, and Justin, you want to just come up? We'll just jump straight to that. Justin Olson is with RSA, the architect on the project. I think this project's been discussed in some shape or form for probably the better part of 5 years now. It has evolved from a police station into a single-story city hall into a two-story city hall. And so we are at the point now, which is quite exciting, where we've actually finished the design, we've bid out the project, and we have received bids. So we received 2 bids. The low bid is from Journey Group in the amount of, around $10.2 million. That is a big number. I think everybody from the city and from RSA was actually quite pleased with that number. Unfortunately, $1 million doesn't get you very far anymore. And so we were concerned that it was gonna be significantly higher than $10 million. So at this time, staff recommendation is to award the bid of the city administration construction to Journey Group in the amount of $10,199,000. There is a bid alternate, which we'll need to discuss, but I'll pause here to see if there's anything Justin wants to add, or if there's any other questions on the overall bid.
Again, Justin, Olson, architect with RSA out of Sioux Falls. Thank you for taking the time for this. Just to reiterate, we did start on this project in, I believe, 2017 with the chief of police and also other city administrators to first study the remodel and upgrading of this facility we're in right now. It proved to be ineffective. Cost-wise, it just didn't make a lot of sense. So then we started to take a look at just moving the police station out towards the current lot, Cars for Less lot. And then from there, it just kind of grew and expanded. And we spent a number of years, I would say, studying and looking at this building and meeting with, department heads and everybody else on the committee, the mayor, Jameson, to create a building that I think is suitable now and in the future, but also keeping in mind and taking into account just being very thoughtful of the costs of everything and just creating a nice but very efficient building for the city of Madison. So that's where we're at. And throw in COVID in there and things and escalating prices. We were thrilled to get 2 bids. And I do think we've got 2 very competitive bids from very reputable contractors, with Journey being the lowest. So I am very comfortable with that cost and with Journey. And we're ready to move forward with whatever we decide here. So.
Questions at all? And for those in the audience and that, this is what we're looking at right over here on the left-hand side. And one of the things in that I really like about the process is that when you look at what schools or some of the others do in that, and if they can't get it put together correctly the first time, 2 years down the road, they're adding on an addition or they're adding on something else. And so at this point in time, the bids came in, favorably, where we were pleased with them, and it's a time to do it and do it correctly the first time, so that the city's ready for the next 100 years.
Yeah, and Mayor, just to add to that, we do have some space for growth in the building.
Yes.
Not a lot of space. I mean, we were very cautious and very thoughtful when it came to those, additional pieces and spaces that we could grow into. But we did plan for that,
Mhm.
so.
Anyone else questions?
I do believe, not to interrupt, I do believe we have a representative from Journey Group on the call, if there's any questions for them. There are some items we can discuss as we move forward, regarding some of the finishes and some of the start dates and ending dates and things like that. We don't have to get into the weeds of that right now, but there are some options as far as when this could start and finish, based on what we decide to do, so.
And when you're saying options and that, for those that are listening and that, the surface of the building. If we were to go with the way the building looks there, where it has brick impressed look in the concrete and that, or if we were to go with, I'm gonna say plain faced, because I'm not sure the proper terminology for it. But it would be just plain concrete looking face. There is a cost difference of $95,000.
Yeah.
And then that also has, and correct me if I'm wrong, a difference in availability of how soon the building could start in construction.
It does, and I can let Journey or John, who's willing to speak more to that. I'll just clarify, when we talk about plain concrete, it won't be a gray finish that you'd see on your sidewalk or anything like that. We can add a color to it. We can sandblast it. It'll be a nice looking finished product. It's just not a brick inlay into the, so. Those are all options that are on the table right now.
John, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you for letting me join here. I think it was pretty well covered. There are just various options there. As it's designed is very well put. With the thin brick, it just with the procurement of that material does lead to a lengthy time frame. We're probably wouldn't get the thin brick until end of March or April of 2024. There are various finishes on precast, as Justin alluded to. First off, adding color to the precast. But secondly, whether it would be sandblast or acid etch or, some breakup with reveals that we can look at as well. But that would allow us to potentially get started sooner if, this fall, there's a window open for the precast fabrication if a kind of a time frame is a driver for the city.
What would you anticipate the time frame difference to be between the two finishes?
Well, in our preliminary schedule with the thin brick, we have, I think we had a preliminary time frame of construction complete, substantial completion, the end of May 2025. If we can get started this fall and go without the thin brick, we could get done by, that end of November-ish 2024.
Okay. Commissioners.
Well, I guess my first impression is I do like the aesthetics of the brick. But I guess I don't have any detriments of the time frame thing. Is that, how important is that to you, I guess, Jameson or other staff?
I'd encourage the commission to decide between the brick finish and the acid finish, correct?
It's acid or sandblast.
The acid or sandblasted finish. I would encourage you to make the decision based on which end product you would prefer. In the end, the price difference is that the acid finish or the sandblast would be $95,000 less. And I think in the scheme of a $1.2 million building, that it's not a significant difference, especially when you're talking about the outside of a building with that size. And then when it comes to the timing, the staff are prepared to move forward on the timeline for either option. So I don't have a recommendation. I just encourage you to make a decision based on the product you prefer.
John, maybe you can answer this question. If they were to choose a different color of brick or is the brick we had in the base bid, is that readily available or are we waiting for them to cut that?
The brick that is chosen right now, it would require, Endicott, which is the brand, it would require them to, burn that or process that, which is driving out somewhat of that timeline. There are only very select producers of the thin brick. There's multiple out there, but that an actual PCI certified precaster will actually use. They want that brick to be PCI certified too. What that means is it's of quality and of straightness that it's going to adhere to the panel. So when you have that PCI certification in the thin brick, your selection or your companies that you can procure that thin brick from are reduced, and then trying to produce for all these precast buildings across the US really draws out those timelines there. I had heard, I don't know specific, but there is a potential that there are some lines of the Endicott brick that could be more readily available versus having to actually custom produce that project. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I just wanted to, our options would be limited if we tried to go with a ready, a thin brick that's ready to go right now. And it may not be a color we end up liking. We do have some flexibility in the color of the precast, I believe. John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we can get a finish look on the concrete that's similar to the brick color, depending on the admixture we use. So there are opportunities there, and as John was saying, with some relief and some joint lines and things like that, we can break up the facade of the building and still have a nice looking building. So really, it just boils down to when you want to start and finish.
What do you see most people doing or businesses doing now? Do they go to this precast set, or you see like Sioux Falls Jefferson in the example? That was more of that acid base.
Right. I would say the majority of them do that.
Yeah.
With maybe some brick here or there, some sort of accent.
Sure.
And most of it has to do right now with time frame. Just like we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
So.
I've done a couple of projects just for reference in Madison there. The DSU, the Mad Labs, if you look at a piece of that's more of the sandblast type finish. More of a recent DSU Residence Village that had a combination that actually had all three. Along the windows, it's still the same color, but it looks like a little bit different color because that's the acid etch. Up above, beside that would be sandblast, and then there also is areas of the thin brick on that project as well. So you can kind of see a combination of various looks there.
And I'll say too, that I do think we have enough happening on the building to kind of break up the facade a little bit that will, if we do decide to go with a single color, just a more solid color, I think there's enough going on that would still make it an interesting looking building when it's all done. So I don't think you can go wrong with either direction.
I'm not necessarily sold on the brick look, if they can be a color like that.
Sure.
It could be offset with another color.
Yeah.
John, if we were to go without the brick and that, when would you anticipate a fall start?
I can answer that with maybe also an additional question. If just hypothetically, if we can get award within the next couple of weeks after the holiday, and then kind of knowing or understanding the timeline of when the house residents would be removed. I personally believe, in my penciled out, that we could be doing foundations come middle of September, and then start with the CMU work, which is the block work for the elevator tower and some of those walls, taking place in October, and by the end of October, early November, we'd be setting precast.
Other thoughts?
Maintenance and upkeep of the two. Are they identical or?
They're pretty much identical. As I was mentioning before, the thin brick is embedded into the precast. So it's a part of the whole wall system. I should mention too that the precast is insulated. So that's everything, that whole system gives you an insulated building when it's done. We do add sheetrock to the inside for a nicer finish. But the difference between the sandblast and the brick, they're both integral to the precast panel. There's nothing additional between those two materials that would be added on to the precast. That would be a maintenance item. There's no grout to tuck, retuck and point in 30 years, nothing like that. So.
I guess my other question would be, is this precast brick critical to the timeline of the bid award? I mean, can we look at other avenues to maybe, regenerate what it would look like with just the sandblast look and then the color differences?
Yeah, from our standpoint, we could redo the rendering to take the brick off and see what it would look like. I don't know, I can't speak for Journey and what their subcontractors are telling them, how much time they have to, honor that bid. I know we did say by July 5th, we'd have a decision made, correct? I think that was what we had. But from our standpoint, if we wanted to look at it as just a precast finish, we could do that.
I'm not saying we're not necessarily not gonna award the bid.
Right, yeah.
But just
Yeah.
that other portion, the 95,000 or less, or.
Yeah.
That was a change order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put that question to Justin. Could we, because we could award the base bid tonight and potentially look at change order if we wanted to change the finish.
I believe so. John, would you have any sort of problem with that?
I would agree with that. Just the one caveat there is, and want to work with the group there to determine what that alternative look could be. With the precasters, there's additional projects that are continuously always bid. So trying to hold and maintain those windows will be important, to try and determine that finish as quick as possible so that we can begin that procurement or lock down that production window as quick as possible.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think if you're ready to approve the base bid minus the deduct, we would get right to work and working with Journey and determining what that finished look would be and working with their precasters to make that decision right away. So.
And then, from my standpoint and that, if we had, had something back from you and that to review and that, we could have call a special meeting and that to, set the color and the look of the finish.
Yeah, and those things will be worked out through the natural, through the construction process, and we don't necessarily need a special meeting for that, I don't believe.
Okay. Because we meet every 2 weeks rather than every week.
Right.
Okay.
So it could always be handled like I said, in a change order for a deduct or something like that. Once the contract is ready to go, so.
Other thoughts from the commission? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to award bid number 925 City Administration Building to Journey Group.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you and
Thank you.
we'll
Thank you.
be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Number 2, award bid number 926, water system improvements, segment 3 to Prunty Construction Company. Jameson, would you like to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we know, there's a lot of construction going on in town currently for this summer, but we are already looking at moving forward with, but we are working on moving forward with the next segment for the SRF improvements, that'd be segment 3. This would be utility improvements and street improvements in the area of Roosevelt Avenue, Northeast 6th, Northeast 8th, and Maplewood. The engineer's estimate of this was 3.05 million. We received 5 bids ranging from 2.76 million to 3.4 million. So the low bid of 2.76 million was from Prunty Construction. That was under the engineer's estimate. We're very pleased with that bid. Everything appears to be in order, so we recommend to award the bid to Prunty Construction contingent upon concurrence with the ANR.
Questions or comments?
What, are they working on any projects in town currently?
Prunty, not currently, but
What
they
is
have in the
their-
past. Ryan, do you want to speak toward that?
Yeah.
Justin, if you want to head out, you sort of can.
Or what their most recent project was?
Their most recent project in town was Center Street. Island Avenue to. Yeah. That was the last time they were in town, but they've done a number of projects over the years and have always, had success with them. They've always done a very good job, so. We were pleased to see them getting our jobs again.
So they're not in town currently.
Correct.
Working on
No,
our
they're not,
open projects.
right.
Okay.
Other questions? If no questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to award bid 926 water system improvement segment 3 to Prunty Construction Company.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 4, authorize staff to advertise bid number 930, Northeast Third Street, Northeast Third Street Mill and Overlay Project 2023-2. Jameson?
This is in relation to the MOU just approved with Lake County. So with that in place, staff recommend moving forward with improvements to the half mile of Northeast Third Street, south of the airport. So this advertisement for bid would mill and overlay that half mile of street. This includes about 9,100 square yards of milling and then installing 1,100 tons of asphalt. In addition to the traffic control and lane striping that'd be required to see the project to completion. Again, if the bypass gets approved as well as this road, this would be a road that we turn over to the county for ownership down the road. No pun intended. I think.
But at this point in time, and that is our road, and if anyone has driven on it, it is completely filled with speed bumps. And so the road does need to be repaired and improved. So even though it wasn't something that we had on our budget for last year, and that is something that we look at, and it could be more costly next year if it continues to fall apart further.
Yep, generally for advertising for projects, we just list it under consent as an acknowledgement, but that's for budgeted projects. Since this project has not been budgeted for, we wanted to bring it for you before proceeding with the advertisement. We do expect that there will be 2 to 3 interested bidders, so we hope they receive a competitive price. Our general estimate for this mill and overlay would be between $150,000 and $200,000.
Questions or comments?
Make a motion to authorize staff to advertise bid number 930 Northeast Third Street Mill and Overlay Project 2023-2.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And before we call the vote, Nat, Bob, would you like to come forward?
Just ask it from here, they'll hear
No,
me.
but I'm asking you so that for the people at home. Thank you. Yeah, it's for the people who listen to it on the internet, not that it's.
Are they gonna, tenderize them joints? out there? Because if they don't, you're just wasting your money.
On
On
that
a-
half mile there.
Yeah,
because
on
that's
that
underlaid.
overlay, if you don't tenderize your joints, it'll bust up.
Yeah, Bob, when I prepared the plans, I have a profile mill, an overlay, and then we also have a bid item for asphalt repair removal and a scratch course. And so that asphalt repair removal would be milling any additional joints and as needed, and then that scratch course would fill in that void, and then we'd have the mill and overlay over top.
Because I've seen contractors come back and say, well, it's not in the bid, it's gonna be extra, and then you got them change orders.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're capturing Bob's concern
Yeah.
in our bid.
Yeah, yeah, cause if we don't, he's right, those potholes, you'll just see them show right through. The complete house, so.
Other questions? Hey, do we have a motion? Okay, that's right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 5, authorize the mayor to sign the EDA Public Works and Economic Adjustment Assistance Program South Industry Avenue Grant application for industrial park. And
Yeah, we can have Brooke come
yeah,
up. I'll give
would you
a,
like to address that?
I'll give a quick overview here. So the LIC has identified a grant from EDA, which would be used to construct a new street within the industrial park. They are having success in recruiting businesses and gradually filling up the properties that they have. They're looking forward to what the next step would be for industrial park. So the proposed road would be going from Industrial Avenue, correct?
Industry.
Industry Avenue, which would be east of Global Polymer. That would be extended south to the property line, a short ways, and then all the way west to 455th Avenue or Washington Avenue, which would be south of the intersection with 34. So this new street would allow for opening up the development of property along both sides of that. The proposal would also look at improving some of 455th Avenue, which is deteriorating, to make sure that as we have new streets to the south, that we've got adequate streets to transport people to that area. The grant would be up to 80% of the eligible costs. I know LAC has been working with Sayre Associates on this. There is a quick turnaround of an application deadline of July.
Our goal is July 1.
July 1 is our goal. And so the LAC is asking the city to be the primary applicant to apply for this funding. We feel we have a pretty good chance at it. And then they would assist us with the implementation process, but it is important to note that it would have to be a city project because it'd be a city road in the end as well. Brooke, do you want to fill in details?
Yeah, no, the concept of this grant started with looking at Industry Avenue and accommodating the contractor suites that are going south of Industry, the very southern portion of our property. When I stumbled across this EDA grant, it's 80-20 monies. It's from $1 million to $4 million. So the project we initially had thought about was much further was much less than the $1 million. They really weren't interested. So we had to come back with a bigger project, which was exciting, but the project got really big. But we're eligible. It's a good project. We have the land available and EDA needs to get this monies out. So I think they have close to $60 million. They have a tight turnaround to distribute these dollars. Previously, we as a community would never be eligible because we'd exceed the income thresholds. But because we're in a disaster, we're declared disaster county, we're actually eligible now. We likely will never be eligible for 80-20 monies of this sort of kind again. So kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. We weren't seeking an industrial park project, but it's very exciting to consider that we'd be developing our additional 49 acres that we have left in the park. So great opportunity. The LEIC is moved forward with Sayre Associates to put together some of the preliminary engineering that's required as part of the grant application. And they came to us today with a general scope of work that we're looking at. I'll present that to our board on Thursday, but of course, like Jameson said, the city does have to be the ultimate applicant. But we'd be kind of right behind you, doing a lot of the legwork, putting it together.
Questions or comments?
So we as the fiscal agent, correct? Will account against our debt limitations.
Yep, so what Sonia has conveyed to me, she
Yep.
did some research and that it would not count against her debt limit.
On the west end of this road, is there currently an approach that we'd be, very good, going out on 455th Avenue, do you know?
No, there's not currently an approach.
Do you see any issues with that? Getting an approach there to the 455th Avenue?
Hope not. I mean, someday it'd be nice to connect to that property. Right now, Custom Touch homes are on it, so if you're looking for a visual, if you've been out there lately, Custom Touch homes sit right up to that property line. So I don't think there's an approach of any sort.
There's a county, it's a county, so it should be much easier than if it was.
Yeah, it's a
County
county.
34. You know, so, and typically working with the county, and that, you know, if Nels doesn't see an issue, then, you know, we shouldn't have an answer. Other questions?
Again, this isn't guaranteed, this is just us moving forward with the.
Moving forward
With the
for
grant.
the
with the grant
application for the
request.
grant.
Yep, yep, but they do have monies, it's a great project, and so I would foresee us
Mhm.
having a strong case, to present to the award of these dollars.
So what liabilities will we have? The city, I mean,
We have more street.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd say the long-term implications of having the road, that's our responsibility and our ownership. I would say, my understanding is that 20% match and anything that falls outside of the eligible LAIC is committed to covering those costs. So the financial implications for this project would be minimal. I can't think of any to note.
Would be maintenance down the road, basically, and then also, you know, anticipation of more businesses in the
Yeah.
industrial park, you know, so.
yeah, it's gonna make it more attractive.
Do we need anything under the road?
The new road?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Go, you can cover it, you understand it.
Water and sewer would be a part of the project as well, that'll go alongside the road. The only utility that would not be a part of the project is the electrical. This power. James, anything else that I'm missing?
No, that's accurate.
Make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign EPA Public Works and Economic Adjustment Assistance Program, South Industry Ave grant application for industrial park.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 6, approve change order number 1 for the public waterworks renovation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Hague Construction is the contractor that is working on renovating our vacant building into a usable space for our water department. As they have been cutting into it, they have realized that there's more concrete under the slab than originally anticipated. So in order to remove that, backfill and then prep for the future work, is a change order required in amount of around $14,700.
Questions or comments?
What are our options?
I don't know if we have any good options, Ryan.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I don't know if we have any options. I mean, it's work that needs to be done. It was work that was not identified as part of the plans and the contractor would. You know, he's doing what the plans provided and you know, not being able to you know, plan for an additional 9 inches of concrete and it's all rebar and everything. There's a lot of work that will go into removing that, but I don't see that we really have any choice. I think this is a fair price.
Motion to approve change order number 1, public waterworks renovation.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 7, discussion and public comment regarding Cyber Estates Park Development Plan. And Jameson, would you like to address that?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I will take a step back first and say this is related to the proposal to build a childcare facility on Highland Avenue at our current T-ball field. First, as one of the steps in doing that, we have to make sure that we can convert the use of that park somewhere else, which is a requirement from the National Park Service. And so we have identified this park location as replacement property for that conversion of use. Cyber Estates Park has been planned since the development was started, but the park has not developed yet. We have not received any grant funding for it, so it's an eligible place for us to use it for replacement. One of the steps in our condition of use here is to send a development plan to the state and onto the National Park Service, which outlines what we are proposing for our replacement property. So LEIC has worked with Sayer Associates to put together the exhibit, which is attached to the agenda packet. In that exhibit, we can see that the development plan is to have a playground as well as picnic shelter upon the entrance to the park, which borders Heatherwood Avenue. And then there's also a loop of a recreation trail that goes to the remainder of the park. And I'll note that to the south of the park is also land that'll be owned by the city as a retention pond. So it may not be official park space, but it is going to be green space that I think could be usable by the public most of the time. My intent would be to work with the state and National Park Service to convey that we are going to develop at least a picnic shelter in the playground within the 3 years that's required for this conversion of use, and see if they're comfortable with us stating that some aspects of this park might be developed at a later date. And honestly, if they're not, I think we're just gonna have to do it sooner than later, and I don't see any problem with that either. I think that wraps it up. Brooke, anything to add?
So, I will just add that we worked closely with the Parks Department to put this plan together. When we look at a conversion of use, we look at an underutilized T-ball diamond, and they're looking at what can be most well used in the Cyber Estates edition for a park. So just want to note, we did work closely with the Parks Department to put this together and put their vision on paper on what they felt would be best suited for the community.
Yep, and I'll let the park board as well discuss what they wanted to see within this park and identify some of the features that Sayer was able to put to paper.
And the park board was content with it being there.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is in the, the new part of town, and so it'll be exciting in that with all the new homes that are going up in the area. To have a new park in that for the young people and the others that aren't so young to be able to enjoy a park in their neighborhood. Other questions? No questions? Do we have a motion?
Need more. What do you need?
I don't think a motion hurts. I know the National Park Service likes to see that we've had plenty of chances for commission discussion, for public discussion. So I think the motion to acknowledge our development plan is appropriate.
I have one more question, I guess.
Yeah.
So this does or does not take the place of the diamond, the diamond that's gonna be moved.
Yes, so the park space use would be converted to this location. So the diamond itself doesn't have to be relocated into another diamond, it just has to be another park space, which is developed, not utilizing land water conservation funds. In talking with the Parks Department, the Parks Board, they don't have any concern with removal of a T-ball field that they feel is underutilized. What I was told is that they are confident that our existing facilities can facilitate all of the recreation programs.
Okay.
Other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Cyber States Park Development Plan.
I'll second.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing no public comment, Commission, are you comfortable with July 3rd as the date of the meeting?
Do we have anything we need to,
I,
discuss prior, on or prior?
I'll maybe rephrase your question. If we would to reschedule the meeting, are you asking whether that'd be too late? If we need to have something
On
sooner?
the, yes,
At this time, I'm not aware of anything. But I would say if, because the 3rd is sandwiched between a weekend and then the 4th of July holiday, you could look at keeping it on the 3rd. You could move it to potentially the 5th, on, one-time basis. Which would be after following the holiday, or it is a 5-Monday month in July, so instead of doing the 1st and the 3rd, you could look at the 2nd and the 4th. And you'd still keep similar spacing between June, July, and August.
what works better for your staff?
I don't have a preference, I don't think.
We're gonna use the 2nd and 4th Monday.
That's my opinion. Then they don't have to worry about that the Friday before the 4th of July.
So that would make it the 10th. The 10th I will be out of town. Then make it the 10th and the 24th.
Yeah. That's what I.
Okay.
But that's, I'm just wanna go here.
Yeah.
It helps to avoid the holiday with staffing.
Yeah, it doesn't mess with preparation, anything like that. We don't have
Yeah, I mean, with,
paying bills.
yeah, the staff or the finance office has the ability to pay the bills that need to be paid.
Do we need a motion to change the dates, James?
If we're gonna make it, a full week ahead and that, I think we should.
Okay, I'll make a motion to move the meetings to the 2nd and 4th Monday.
So it'll be July 10th and 24th.
July 10th and July 24th.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So our next regular meeting then will be July 10th at 5:30 PM. So thank you, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. And again, thank you, everyone. So.